Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Little Duckling Pod. Episode 1, Your Trauma Makes You. Maka! Today I have my script printed out. Where's the camera? Welcome to today's episode of Little Duckling Pod. It's Jessa here, and I'm someone who grew up really loving theatre and musicals. But I grew up in a circle where it is judged, dragged around, and laughed at. The connotation of a theatre kid or even just an artsy kid was pure clownery and wannabe behaviour. Real Asian style. Sorry mom, I didn't want to be a lawyer. But my dad did say I make a damn good one. But then I had a childhood friend. We're both pretty similar. Both dog lovers, music lovers. We're both very outgoing. We can burst into a song any time of the day. But she was so supported and guided in that journey of hers all throughout her child and adulthood that now she's actually pursuing Broadway, and she's very brave with starting any new business ideas, projects, or just anything that she puts her heart into, or should I say she just puts her mind into. She thinks of it and she just does it. You can tell there is no obstruction within her thought process. It's just idea and execution. She is living in the musical world that I dreamt of as a kid, and when I see her in those musical moments, I would think, oh, she's gonna get judged so hard. Then I would also hear in my head, like, oh, she's a wannabe. She is so extra, such a tryhard, you know. However, those weren't what I thought of her. Those were the words that I've heard growing up. And it just automatically applies to any encounters that I come across in life that carries the tiniest resemblance that makes my brain goes, oh, I've seen this before. Let me just apply the exact same formula now. And then the same voice, it comes out. Voices that weren't even mine and behaviors that I don't even approve of, I was doing it myself. And it doesn't even have to be the same behavior or same topic of interest. It just needs to remind me of the same pattern, and then the trauma voices would resurface. And this is why we always say healing is so important. Self-reflection is so important because until you come to know yourself, you do not have an identity. You are just the remains and extensions of what others reflected onto you. Now, the things that I'd hear if I were to step into her shoes, those were the once upon a time voices that flooded through my mind. Those are the comments that I knew I would get, but mark my words for exactly what it is here, because the word I used was the comments I knew I would get. But the thing is, that may not be my reality anymore. However, in my head, it didn't matter. It still thinks that the cause and effect was going to be the same. I do the things I want, and the voices comes through. That is the habit that I was looped into. Because my brain, my muscle memory, it didn't know that things have changed. And it wouldn't know until I grace it with new knowledge. And simply knowing this as a fact sometimes just isn't enough. You actually have to put it into practice and show yourself new responses to recondition your mind into accepting that, hey, things have changed. Because what matters in my head, in my memory, is what was taught to me in the past, which is why we say our trauma makes us. But once you notice this, once you piece it together, that awareness becomes your power, it becomes your key. And this is not a moment to then sit down and blame the past for why you'll never flourish, because the ability to put those points together is a blessing that not everyone gets and not everyone cares to have. And by recognizing the shortcomings and disadvantages that you were given at life, you unlock a new possibility for yourself. Because if you didn't know that there was a door, you'd never think to get out. So this is the moment to step forward and create your new path. Not to wail about the what ifs or should haves, but to take the key you now have, unlock the door, and begin building the journey that you desire. My key was realizing that the people who once cornered me and made me feel small are no longer around. And my door is the threshold I now need to cross. So with this key, the awareness and knowledge I now have, do I take the action to open that door? As of right now, I can't say that I have, but I've knocked on it countless of times, and every time I knock, I brace myself. I anticipate the noises coming back. I expect the same trauma I was familiar with to come find me again. But lately I realized that each time I try, it doesn't happen. However, I still hear it in my mind because I was preparing for it, bracing for it, but it never comes. And after once, twice, or even tens or 20 of times, my brain slowly begins to reprogram itself. It starts to say, maybe this door is safe. Because I've tested the waters, it didn't come for me. So maybe it's okay to open. And this whole reconditioning process can take days, months, or even years. For me, it took over 5 years or more of testing, knocking, pulling back, and even right now, I still fear hearing those noises in my mind. But through all those tests, the new data is telling me something different, that I may be safe, that maybe I can open this door. So now I have my key in the doorknob, and when the time is right, I think I can finally open it and step back into what I used to love, musical theatre. rebuilding your reality. This is what I mean when I tell people that I focus a lot on my shadow work, and when I say I spend a lot of time rebuilding myself, because I had to recondition my own reality as well. Just as when I was starting this podcast, Little Duckling Pod, all I could hear in my head were the negative comments. But for once, I told myself, not anymore. Because I've tried to break through this door so many times, and every time I failed. Because each time I tried so much as to even touch that door, I wail. I pulled back because it was just too much for me. Exactly because it was everything to me. Something that I cared about so much, but it was the very thing that hurt me the most growing up my entire life. So it was very difficult for me to step out of it comfortably because I cared about it way too much for it to fail. And I didn't have the balls to fail. But then I recently learned something new, that sometimes it's not about the results that you achieved. Sometimes it's all about just expressing yourself and showing up showing up for the things you care about. It's all about stepping into who you truly are as a person and not what you possess. Because it's just like they say, if all you have is money, then you are the poorest person on earth. Same thing. You could be rich, you could achieve so many good results. You know the whole, at least I'm crying in a Lamborghini thing. But you could literally have all the greatest results that everyone would deem as successful. But if it wasn't true to your root, if it isn't true to your core, then it will never be fulfilling to you. It will look good on you, but it will not be fulfilling. And it may not matter now, but when you grow older, grow past the current moments and ego fulfillments, and look back, that is usually when we start to feel emptiness. And the shitty thing about this type of emptiness is that it came from the past, meaning it's something that you cannot amend anymore. So the cause and effect wouldn't be now, but we have to always remember we are living for two versions of ourselves. Now, I actually wanted to say three, but that is another topic that I want to uncover a bit more deeper in a separate episode. So for now, we are living for two versions of ourselves. That's us today, and that's our future. How your future self will look back at you, that is the only external opinion that you should care about. So the things that you are doing now. If you age yourself 5 years, 10 years from now, and you look back and you regret the things that you did now, or the lack thereof things that you did, then change. Because guess what? We may think, oh, when I'm 25, I want to be that girl, well dressed to work every day, have a cute cozy little apartment, and when I'm 30, I want to be blah, 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 blah. Lots of things, right? And then what? Who is going to achieve that for you? Because it's not like a magic word where you turn 25 and then boom, you have an apartment, boom, you are great at your job, well dressed every day, healthy meal every day. That's not gonna happen. You actually have to build yourself into that habit and cycle to actually enjoy that. And who's gonna do that? You. And this is the embarrassing part for me because it actually didn't hit me until just a shy year ago. Yep. I've always dreamt of being a young girl with my own living space, you know? I didn't want to wait until finally I'm married in my late 20s or 30s to only then move out and have a place. I always known I wanted to do it young. And then I waited because then I felt like I was too young and I had nothing and I wasn't ready. And I felt like it was something that's supposed to just happen when I come into some age because I didn't know how to achieve that. You know, yeah. Because we all know how to dream, but we don't actually know the steps on how to actually step into that dream. Because I'm just a girl. Anyways, so who's gonna teach me that? Nobody. So then I kept living day by day by day by day, and I didn't know, like, how would that dream ever come to be? It was like I was waiting for a moment until life just pushed me into it. It just shifts gear for me, and I just have to settle into it. And then one day, last year, I realized if I wanted to be that girl that goes out every day with her hair perfect, makeup done, high heels, always smells nice, then guess what? I actually have to wake up earlier, put on my makeup, fluff my hair, and then put on perfume and heels and walk out the freaking door myself. And if I wanted to be that girl that has a bombshell body, I actually have to build that body so that the future version of me can enjoy that. That's when it clicked into my head, like, holy shit, this is never gonna happen, hey, until I actually do something about it now. And so I did. And so I did. And the second I started doing it, just 1 week into it, I felt so much better about myself. It was so empowering. Not because I look good or feel good because of appearance, nothing like that. It was because I felt like I have the because it felt like I had the narrative of my own life back into my hands. And for me, this is what I feel is the most empowering. And as they always say, confidence is silence and insecurity is loud. And I feel this type of empowerment, it really is something that happens internally within. No one else can see it, but it changes so much of myself that because it's not something that I post on Instagram and I hashtag empowerment, hashtag self-care. It is not something that I expressed to the whole world. No. It was a change that I made within myself. And that is something that is so silent that it built my confidence into something that made people ask me all the time, where did you get your confidence from? Myself. And this is what I mean when I say myself. Because it was never about how I looked, how I dressed, where I live, how much money was in my bank. No. It was the amount of work that I put into myself and the fact that I fulfilled every promise that I made towards myself. It is because I've never let myself down that I have the confidence to go out into the world. Because if I hadn't let myself down, if I hadn't disappointed myself, I can trust that I'm not going to disappoint anyone else. Because you are always your biggest critic. So if you can fulfill yourself, there's nothing for you to be afraid of as you're stepping out into the world. This is definitely isn't a result that you achieve overnight. It is certainly something that you have to and can train your mindset into. Our mind and body functions with muscle memory. And since your childhood experiences are the ones responsible for training the very same muscle you're using now, it isn't wrong to say that your trauma makes you. And that sentence itself doesn't sound very pretty. On the surface, it kind of wraps you in the connotation of you're nothing more than your trauma. But that simply isn't true. If we have any listeners today that are either driving or doing laundry while listening, I will actually have on the screen right now the title of today's episode, which is exactly Your Trauma Makes You. But it ends with a semicolon, a But anyways, it ends with a
semicolon,
not a period, because it is a complete sentence and an incomplete sentence at once. When it is a complete sentence, it is one to be acknowledged, to be dissected, then absorbed into our future improvements. When it is an incomplete sentence, it is one to be filled with your actions, your reactions, and your intentions. Bars. So yes, your trauma makes you. Or it could be your trauma makes you stronger, wiser, better, or gentler. So your destiny is quite literally in your own hands. How are you going to end or start your next sentence? The choice is entirely yours. So that is the question that I'm going to leave with you today. This is the end of today's episode. If you're still here, I'm very happy and very thankful that you have decided to stick around and listen to a girl yap. I hope this has been insightful and helpful for your healing journey. It definitely is for me. I actually have the next couple episodes already laid out, and honestly, I'm so excited to get to them. So definitely let me know what I should improve on or work on, what you'd like to change, or what you like or hate about how the episodes are currently running. This is the first one. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Little Duckling Pod thus far. And I'm gonna go make dinner. I hope everyone either drive safe or sleep well, or I don't know, do your laundry nicely, steam your clothes, iron your clothes, I don't know. I hope everyone is having a wonderful, moment. Anyways, dinner time. Goodbye.